So let's look at this a little closer here. This is quite incredible as we're seeing this. At first I thought it could have been maybe parachuters up there in the sky, pyrotechnics strapped to their boots, but these aren't really descending. They're actually moving vertically, and that's kind of interesting. Look at how far this is off in the distance. It almost looks like one craft at one moment with this bright shining light under its underbelly here, but as we watch it once again, and I'm liking this, it's right at dusk, and we have a little bit of the night sky lit up as the sun goes down, but this thing's illuminated. Brent, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I really find this one really curious because usually when you see a stun of pyrotechnic parachuters jumping from an airplane, you'll see the airplane pretty much very closely adjacent to the parachuters themselves. Look at that bright light right below these three kind of a rod-like shaped craft. That's not a plane. We're looking at something entirely different. This is a unique sighting. I gotta say, I like this one a lot, especially look at these things. They're not descending. They just kind of remain in its own formation. Very unique characteristics we're looking at here.
Yeah, could this be some kind of celestial event? That's the question. And guys, I want to get your opinion as we're watching this. Man, things are lighting up over the skies.
I couldn't help but laugh at myself because I thought I was looking at a photograph, but this is actually a video of an object that it's stationary. It's not moving at all. And I know Blake was talking about maybe skydivers, but even he said there's no way. I mean, they're not moving. Is this one object circular, but we can't make it out because it's the morning hour and it's the lighting, and maybe the object is the color of the sky or reflecting the sky, because it looks like the three lights I see above the bigger one seem to be, and there in one part I was able to see what looked like the craft. Let me go back on that. I want to see that again. Hold on a second. Okay, see, if you follow the edge, those three lights, and follow it around where the arrows are pointing, I see a circular object. That's a disc-shaped craft. It's just blending in with the background. Watch it again when it comes up. But this may be the real deal after all. That is really, really interesting. You could see the outline of that craft. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I think that is I think that's one object, and we're just seeing the lights. Another great sighting. Always something new.
Alright, so this photo is very intriguing to me. The photographer did not initially notice Bigfoot when snapping the shot, which is not uncommon. We hear this quite a bit, especially in the way of paranormal investigation, where somebody shoots a room and later on in the exposure they find that there was something else there with them, and yet they couldn't see it with the naked eye. But the question remains, why was the picture taken? So in this circumstance, we see a gorgeous scenery in the background, beautiful waterfall. It stands to reason that somebody might see the beauty in this and actually take the time to take a picture. So right there we have a reason for the picture to exist, rather than saying there might have been some sort of setup and it seems awkward that the photograph was taken at a certain point in time. Now, also to say that the subject itself, Bigfoot perhaps, is in focus along with the rest of the scenery. Most of the photos that we see with Bigfoot at the center, Bigfoot tends to be a little bit more blurry than some of the surrounding objects or the scenery there. So that's not the case here. This is really interesting to perhaps believe that what we're seeing is actually in its environment. The lighting appears accurate along with the overall color. It could have been manipulated, but if it is, this is really well done. It is mentioned in the video that someone lost a small white dog earlier that day, And this particular photo illustrates perhaps Bigfoot carrying what looks like a white dog, wherein we see the hindquarters, and that's what's pointing towards the camera. This isn't uncommon as well. Bigfoot has been accused of preying on household pets if left outside, more than likely to consume. It's my belief that Bigfoot does have a predatory side to it, and if it is flesh and blood, it should have some sort of instinct to hunt and be indiscriminate. It's interesting to look at the facial features here too, which you can almost make out an expression, but it has the characteristics of some familiar hominoid or possibly a baboon, albeit much larger. There seems to be a red plume on top of its head, some very thick wisped hairs on the brow. Maybe those are the eyebrows, but either way, even with the elongated snout, at least in the way that it looks in the photograph, it really reminds me of an oversized baboon. I'm guessing that the subject is on an incline, as it looks deep within the brush. The trees in front and around are very young, and more than likely stand around 5 or 6 feet. But again, the subject is deep enough in the photo that we can't really make a reference to the surrounding environment in the way of its height. It has been said that Bigfoot, if aware of being photographed, in most cases, an unclear image will develop in the film. The interesting thing is that when people have surprised this animal or being, and it was not aware of being watched or photographed, the pictures are much more clear. Does this mean that Bigfoot has some sort of switch it may turn on in the way of switching frequency so that it literally can't be photographed? Very interesting to think about. This is some fantastic evidence in the way of photography and Bigfoot, and actually reminds me a lot of what I've seen in the way of New Zealand evidence.
Back again. See, they're back again. You know what they are? The lights just keep going on and on. They're just stationary. See the left one there? Go bright. Give me a sign that you're some type of entity. Go brighter. They're just stationary. It's not that far off the road. Let's see. Just go on and off. You see, there's stars. There's stars up there. You see. Those light up there. Just stationary. They're not moving. Been filming the last like 10 minutes.
All right, so I got a viewer submitted this to me at GoofOn and sent it over to Thirdphaseofmoon. They're claiming that the object was recorded at least 10 minutes, seen it for much longer, maybe a half hour or so. And I think they're an Uber driver, had to pick somebody up, and while they were waiting for them, around 4 or 5 in the morning, somewhere in there, they recorded this about a year ago. Nothing is happening other than what the witness testimony is, and that is the object was there, it would disappear, the 2 lights, and then it would reappear in the same exact spot. We've heard these stories time and time again. And it's interesting that somebody actually captured it, because I did a little research. I asked him every question you could have possibly imagined. And I tried to pull up the the star map of a year ago and see what it was like at 4 or 5 in the morning, and there's no two objects looking in this direction that were there, that were two objects. Yeah, I know there's a little lag in between where where you see it, but it's not that long. But at least he tried, and that's all we're asking. And I don't know what it is. If it's not something on a light, you know, like a light post or something in the sky coming in this direction, like an airplane or two. I don't see any flashing lights, but it's an unknown. Good stuff.
Hello, Dr. Floyd. Please. Believe me. This is very difficult for me. I don't have much time. I've been allowed to give you this warning. You must leave here in 2 days.
There's really no fluctuation with it. Like a balloon would be kind of wavering in the wind and oscillating. This thing remains static.
Very controversial case, very difficult to pin this down, but George Filer was there the morning that these UFOs were seen. So this is McGuire Air Force Base, Fort Dix. This is January 18th, 1978. Source UFO crash retrievals, page 131 by Leonard Stringfield. Very controversial case, but a part of the UFO crash retrieval history. So let's find out what happened here. There was, and I've got the map. If you look here, you've got Fort Dix off to the right. Off to the left, you've got McGuire Air Force Base. So at night, there was an MP who was making the rounds around the perimeter fence line. If you look at this, X marks the spot here. This is the approximate area of the incident. And this is on the Fort Dix side of the joint base here. So out from the darkness comes this 3.5 to 4 foot alien body. And this military MP pulls out a 45-degree pistol, caliber pistol, and shoots this being. It was injured badly, climbed over the fence, and then you can see here, site of dead body. It lied dead near the end of the old runway at the McGuire Air Force Base site of this joint facility. That's essentially what happened, and you can see the map here. Now we'll move forward here. This is a Google overhead aerial image view from maps, and you can see Brody Road. This is the approximate location of where this incident took place. And I'll move forward here. Now you can see the drawing by Rudy Gardea, what he's done here. So on the bottom, you can see the MP pulling out the 45 caliber Magnum pistol here, shooting the body. He climbs over the fence, and then he dies on the McGuire side of this joint facility. Now, the next thing that happened is, according to the report, they laid a white kind of a curtain or some type of a tarp over the body. They sprayed the body with a preservation fluid. Then they built a wooden crate around the body. They put that crate into a large metal container, and then a C-141 from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base landed at the facility, open up the clamshell doors. That particular container was loaded by a forklift into the aft end of the C-141 and flew it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So here's another example of where all roads appear to lead to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Okay, and here's the C-141 Starlifter that flew out the body and then brought it back to the facility here. So again, all roads lead to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Next case. Some of you might be familiar with Marina Popovich. So she was a Soviet Air Force colonel, engineer, and decorated test pilot, Marina Popovich. She's no longer with us, but she left a great legacy. And it was through her information that she got from the next gentleman that I'm going to show you here. She got this information regarding a very interesting UFO case that involved 2 MiG-23s. This is Major General Igor Maltsev, Commander-in-Chief of the Soviet Air Defense Troops. So Marina got the information from this gentleman. He's the source of the case I want to describe for you next here. And this is what it looked like. This is March 21st, 1990, near Moscow. There were 2 MiG-23s that were scrambled to intercept a 650-foot diameter flying saucer. A 650-foot diameter saucer. Can you imagine the size of this thing? And these MiG-23 pilots chasing after this. So this is a worldwide phenomenon. They cannot claim that they don't have the documented evidence, the gun camera footage. You know Russia has this just as well as we do over here in America. So the evidence is actually international in scope here. So let's move forward here. Again, March 21st, 1990, near Moscow, drawn by Rudy Gardea. What evidence do we have to back this up? Well, this is from the Miami Herald, July 8th, 1990. Soviets more serious about sightings. Now I'm going to go ahead and blow this up so you can see this a little bit better here. It says Maltsev also reported that jet fighters were scrambled and the pilots described a disc from 100 to 200 meters in diameter flying at speeds 2 to 3 times faster than their aircraft, Antonio Huneeus said. The general concluded the UFO had somehow, quote, this is interesting, come to terms with gravity, end quote, and that it didn't seem to appear to be a terrestrial machine, Huneeus said. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? I like the terminology here. Come to terms with gravity. And this is a 650-foot diameter dish-shaped craft that 2 MiG-23s were scrambled after, going three times faster than their aircraft. No sonic boom. So who's got the technology? Who's building these? Where are they being kept? And why is this being kept from the general public? Multiple independent confirmation here from Russia. Now, this is another case. Reference 16, alien autopsy performed at Walter Reed Hospital. The cadaver was described as being 3 feet in height with a large head, protruding brow, sunken eyes, which wrapped around to the side of the face, very long arms, gray skin. Source, pathologist at the Cleveland Clinic via Dr. Stanley Tytko. Date 1952-1953 from Kingman. That's the question. So this particular case came from the Leonard Stringfield dictation notes collection that I was able to access back in 2013. Now, here's the real question. We've heard so much about these extraterrestrial alien bodies. We've heard all these descriptions. We've got sketches. We've got reports from medical doctors. We've got reports from pathologists. What do these bodies look like? What is the best available sketch that we can put together from all these sources? What do these bodies look like? Well, I'm going to show you what they look like, and I'm going to show it to you right now. And this is the breakdown. What do they look like? Here's the bullet items. 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall. 2 round almond sunken-in eyes without pupils. Heavy brow ridge. Large hairless head by human standards. No earlobes. No definitive nose. Small slit for a mouth. Very thin neck. Small torso wearing a metallic flexible garment. Arms described as long and thin, reaching down to the knees. Hands have 4 fingers without thumbs, slight webbing. Short and thin legs, no toes. Skin color, beige, tan, brown, tan, pinkish gray, and even this powdery white color that looks like baking powder. We've just described that in the 73 case as we started here. So let's go to the drawing. Let's see what Rudy can give us based on all of the available information. And this is it right here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best available sketch that we're going to get. It's probably not going to get any better than this. So this is the source is a medical doctor / specialist who performed an autopsy on an alien cadaver in the early 1950s. Source UFO crash retrievals, page 46/47. And that's where you can get the information on where we detailed this sketch from. And you can see this oversized head, oversized eyes, slit for a mouth, minute nose, emaciated body, elongated arms, no opposing thumb, and then webbing between the fingers. This, ladies and gentlemen, is our best available sketch that we can put together. And we'll go ahead and move on to the next case here. Now, we've heard so much information about the Vatican and how the Vatican has all this top secret UFO research that goes back hundreds, maybe thousands of years. They've got documented evidence. Is there anything to back this up? And can we put together a drawing to take you inside the Vatican and show you what they've had? We know they've had a massive library here, an archive at the Vatican. So this is UFO crash retrievals, page 201, where they talk about something called the White Book, where in this report, it describes that the Vatican in Rome, at Vatican City, in St. Peter's Basilica, they have a recovered UFO craft. That's one thing. And then the next thing is they have something called the White Book, which is a documented evidence report of mankind's interaction with extraterrestrials over the past few thousands of years. Wouldn't that be something to look at? Now, what I want to do next is I want to take you inside the Vatican secret archives. What would they have? What did they retrieve? What did they get over the last few thousands of years? What are they keeping from the public and the world? what secrets do they have at the Vatican? Well, let's go in here. Let's see what we can find if we go inside the Vatican. Now, here's the drawing by Rudy Gardea. And what you can see here, we've got the Pope here. Off to the lower right, we've got the treasure chest with the Inca and Mayan treasures. In the background, off to the right, you see an Olmec head. Off to the right, you see these old books. And then up on shelving, you've got scrolls from the Library of Alexandria. If you look to the left, we've got more scrolls, more books. We've got an Egyptian sarcophagus. And then above the Pope's head, we've got this UFO crash recovered. At least one UFO craft appears to have been stored in the Vatican archives. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I have prepared for you this evening. There are more UFO crash retrievals to go. I'm constantly getting more drawings by Rudy and my good friend Joseph Wraith. So again, I want to thank you for your attention, and we will continue with this crusade. And I'm going to provide more information in upcoming segments within this series. Thank you very much.